William George Hall
Where and when were you born?
in 1926
In where?
in Cambridge, Ohio.
Oh, and can you tell us something about your growing up there, your parents?
My dad had come back from World War One and was working in a steel mill in Cambridge, Ohio. And my mother had some, maybe a couple of years at Muskingum College close to Cambridge. And they met not very far ahead of when they got married, which was in 1924, I think, but I'm not sure.
Uh,
I had a sister, Mary Jean Hall. She died some years ago now. Yes, my grandfather was George Fordyce, and his wife was, um, oh, I'm having trouble remembering her first name, but she was a Stiles and related to the Stileses, whose farmhouse is now the Morris Plains Library. I remember uh, George Fordyce and, good grief, why can't I remember my grandmother's name?
Was it Nettie?
Nettie Fordyce. George and Nettie Fordyce were my mother's parents. And they lived in Cambridge, Ohio at 717 Taylor Avenue, just the second house up the hill from 8th Street, North 8th Street. And I remember that my parents told me there was a house farther down North 8th Street, just a block farther away from the center of town, that they bought before they left Cambridge for my dad to work at the postal service, the railway mail service.
oh,
He started out there as a mail sorter on the mail cars on trains. And for a time, I was told, my mother and my sister and I lived in Cambridge, but then we moved to Cleveland, the east side of Cleveland, for a time, and then the west side of Cleveland. And my last address in Cleveland was 158th Street, West 158th Street, near Lorraine Avenue. I think there were Stileses in the second or third ship over after the first landing from England. My Hall's ancestry is less clear to me. I often asked my dad about his parents' background, but they had a farm outside Cambridge. And my dad got 2 years of college, which qualified him to teach school in Florida, from where he was drafted for the World War I, and to which he came back to teach some more. And then I don't have any recollection of knowing why he moved back to Cambridge from Florida.
Hmm.
In 1944, I was due to graduate from high school in Cleveland, Ohio. And I hurried up my graduation so that I could get in a couple of years at Ohio State University. And I had 2 years of their electrical engineering course before I joined the Navy. And I joined the Navy by going to the Naval Academy at Annapolis, and I was sworn in on July 2 of 1945. I had to postpone my actual joining and swearing in for a week or two while they got a special exception for my height. I was 5 feet 5.5 inches tall, and I was supposed to be 5 feet 6. And they went back to the senator who had nominated me and got him to write a letter, and they finally got me in.
When you were on your destroyer minesweeper, did you ever get seasick?
Rodman, USS Rodman, Rodman.
Oh, did you ever get seasick?
Oh, yes. Customarily, when we went to sea, I was seasick for the first 24 hours at least. But then I survived that and it cleared up, and then I was okay for the rest of the trip. First kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. I'm thinking there must have been somebody in high school, but let's see, did I meet any women in Ohio State? Yes, there was a friend of my sister's that I tried to be friendly with. I was not very accomplished at that sort of thing, but I invited her to the graduation festivities at the Naval Academy, and I'm sure I must have kissed her once while we were together there, but I can't even remember her name now. I met my wife, Sylvia Meadows, at a church function on a Sunday evening after I had gone to visit my parents in Cleveland for the weekend.
Hmm.
And that was in 1952, was it?
Yes.
Sounds right.
Uh-huh. When you met Sylvia, was that love at first sight?
Pretty much, yeah. I came back from that weekend in Cleveland, And I came back at a particular time because I knew there was the event at the Unitarian Church going on in the basement on Sunday evening. And I got there late enough that I had to go to the first row in front in order to find a place to sit. And I sat down next to a young woman and I looked for a ring on her finger and there wasn't one. And as soon as the meeting was over, I sought her out and we talked and talked and talked that evening. And I walked her home to a rental, I guess you could call it an apartment, a sleeping room with access to a bathroom in a house in Evanston. And then I got back in my car and drove back to Great Lakes to my room in the bachelor officer's quarters in Great Lakes. And from then on, I spent every hour I could with Sylvia, and she seemed quite agreeable to that. And within the first, I was going to say within the first week, but certainly within the first month we knew each other, we had agreed we were going to get married. But we waited until the minister of the Evanston Unitarian Church came back from a visit to Schweitzer in Africa to get married by him. And his name I can't think of now, but I have one of his books on their shelves downstairs.
Homer Jack.
Homer Jack, Bill is reminding me.
How many years were you married to Sylvia? It was quite a while, huh?
Yeah, from 52 until she died in January of 2012. And I had one son, Bill, who's sitting here listening to us, and he's the one who helped me sign on to Zoom here. I wouldn't know how to do that. I've lost track of all my technical skills. Bill was our first, and he was born in 1954. And my elder daughter, Kathy, was born in 1957. And my younger daughter, Susie, was born in 1959.
And do you have grandchildren now?
Yes. Bill has a son whose name is William Hall. And my elder daughter, Kathy, has a son who's in college. And Susie, who's my youngest offspring, has a son whose first name is Bridger, or actually the name he goes by is Bridger. His first name is Keith, and a daughter named Melissa. First, I had another 2 years at Case School of Applied Science, it was called then. It's now part of Case Western Reserve University. And I graduated from there in 1954. And I was signed up by Bell Labs and worked at Murray Hill for some time.
And what did you work on at Bell Labs?
Well, I started in a switching research department at Murray Hill, but then I got transferred to an organization that was centered in Holmdel, and I commuted to Holmdel for years by bus.
Bill?
Oh, Master of Science in Electrical Engineering.
There you go. Did you have some publications at Bell Labs?
Yeah, there were some papers in IEEE publications, IEEE Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. But they're put away in the attic, and I don't remember what they were about. I did a thesis for my MSEE, and a copy of it is on a shelf in my bedroom. And it was on the subject of solving partial differential equations using an analog computer.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember one thing about it. I would have to start at the beginning of it and learn all over again. When I was still in the Navy, I sought out a Unitarian church. In fact, at the ship's home port of Charleston, South Carolina, there was a Unitarian church, and I sought it out there while I had been in my 2 years of time at Ohio State University. In addition to having a couple of years of electrical engineering, I spent my spare time looking for a church that I could tolerate. And there was a Unitarian fellowship in Columbus, right near the university. And I started going to meetings there.
What was your primary interest in the Morristown Fellowship?
It was a non-Christian, religious, in quotes, organization that I could tolerate. And there were interesting people in it. And by now I've lost track of most of the names. I can remember sometime in 1956, probably on a Sunday, going up the back stairs inside the YMCA building in Morristown to a meeting room that was set up with folding chairs. And that was a Sunday meeting of the Morristown Unitarian Fellowship. And that was my introduction to it. They had, I understand now, they had been meeting there for a year or so. I mean, my wife, Sylvia.
Uh-huh. And what did you learn from her?
How to be a good friend and how to enjoy friendships.
Oh, that's
These days, now that I'm retired, a perfect day is reading a book, a mystery novel or a romance novel, nothing too serious. And going out for a very brief walk. I have a treadmill in one of the first floor rooms of the house, and I'm able to keep going on the treadmill for about 2 or 3 minutes usually before I get too tired. Anne Perry, Perry, is a particularly good mystery author. I'm trying to think, what was it about the 60s that I got caught up in addition to draft counseling?
Civil rights.
Oh, civil rights, yeah. Felicia Jameson and Charles, her husband,
Oh,
were good friends, and they were not, and Felicia's not Unitarian, but Baptist, but we did a lot of helping out with their important work on civil rights. Sylvia and I were members of the Marshall County Fair Housing Council. But I can't remember what we did. I do. It evolved over the years. At the time that I first started being attracted to various Unitarian congregations in Columbus, I found one. I guess I could have been called an agnostic, and by now I'm a non-believer. What do you call that?